Cameron Nelson from Prince Edward Island. Congratulations on making it to the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Awesome, Andy. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, very excited. Been a busy few weeks up in Niagara now, just for one last push, and flying out this Saturday later in the evening out of Pearson, and going from Pearson to Hong Kong, and then Hong Kong to Shanghai. So long way from PEI for sure.
Your situation, your story is somewhat different in a couple different ways compared to a lot of fighters who make it into the UFC. And to be quite honest, your signing caught me by complete surprise. Like typically, I have friends I talk with in different fight camps around Canada, so I know who's set up for a contender series. I know who's being looked at, for maybe a Ultimate Fighter or something like that. But when your signing came out, I woke up one morning, opened up my social media, and boom, I saw a post from UFC Canada that you had made it to the UFC. And I was completely surprised. Tell me, how in the world did this come about, and how did you keep it a secret?
Yeah, good question. I found out not too much longer before everything kind of got out. When I first was told, my manager had actually got a hold of me, Brian Butler from Sucker Punch down in Vegas. He had FaceTimed me. It was a couple weeks ago now, August 6th or something like that, 6th or 7th. And essentially just told me, hey, I don't usually FaceTime someone unless they're in the UFC. And congrats, man, you're a UFC fighter and you're making your debut in 3 weeks in Shanghai. So obviously, you're a little taken aback initially, but then I was just like, well, let's go, man, let's have it. I'm always training. I'm always fit and ready and within a makeable weight. So pretty well first reaction was just let's go and where do I sign and let's get the ball rolling.
Now, was this signing a complete surprise to you, or did you know there was something in the works? Were you told that, Brian was talking to the UFC, or your name was even known to them?
I mean, I know Brian's been, pushing my name into the right circles after, the last couple fights. Now I'm 7-1 as a professional. I'm on a 5-fight win streak. I finished my last 3 opponents in a row. Obviously thought, the more conventional route was going to be the contender series, like you had mentioned. I was hoping for maybe a shot on that this fall. I thought was a realistic opportunity. But when I got the call and he told me no, like a straight shot right into the UFC on short notice in Shanghai, obviously didn't have that on the bingo card, but just took it in stride. And like I said, I'm always training, I'm always staying ready, so didn't hesitate to say yes and jump at the opportunity, and just very blessed and thankful that I was chosen to have a straight shot right into the show and be able to put my skills on display on August 29th. So very excited.
That's amazing. Now, oftentimes when fighters make it to the UFC, it's the ultimate test, right? Like you're on a regional circuit, you're doing really well. Like you said, record is 7-1. You've been performing excellently and you've been winning some great fights. But you just never know until you face like higher level of competition where you're going to be. So as an entry level fighter into the UFC, I'm wondering, do you look at the landscape there, the other fighters in your weight class, and look at them and think, oh, I could beat that guy? Or do you think that, this is something like you're an entry level guy and you're going to have to work your way to get up the ranks?
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of years of my career, I've obviously been, preparing for an opportunity like this in the foreseeable future. And, I mean, luckily I come up to a great gym here in Niagara. I get to, train with the likes of Mike Malott and Aaron Jeffrey. And then you have people like Jasmine and Cody and, a ton of up and comers, Clayton Pye, Bobby Poulter coming in here, guys that are at my weight class that are very, high level prospects in the country. So, you surround yourself with, the highest caliber of training partners and athletes, and I think it gives you a pretty good gauge of where you're at. And I've definitely noticed a massive difference from coming up here and doing a big portion of my camps up here the last couple of years. And then also I have a great gym back home in PEI as well, Henzo Greasy PEI. For being a small province, we have a super deep pool of athletes there who are very dedicated in their training with coaches to go along with it as well. So I've just been very blessed and very grateful to have 2 very strong gyms in my corner and be able to kind of, bounce back and forth between the two. So, yeah, obviously it's the UFC. There's no easy fights. Everyone is there for a reason. But the last couple fights, I really believe truly in to myself that I was ready for that next step, and I just stayed true to my training and the process that got me here, and believed that one day it was going to come. So obviously, sometimes it comes a little quicker, or a little more grandiose than you would expect, right? Flying to Shanghai on 3 weeks' notice, but hey, that's this is what you're after, right? You want the big shots at the show like this. So I'm just super stoked and super grateful for the opportunity, and I'm ready to go.
Now, we're going to step aside from the sexy talk about fighting for a second, and we're going to talk about real life and reality. A lot of fighters who are watching this right now are in the situation that you found yourself just a few weeks ago, where you have aspirations to be a pro fighter, a high-level pro fighter. You're working toward that. You're doing what you can. You're training, but you have a real life outside of fighting, right? You, in particular, you work for the government. You've got a job there. So to be able to accept this opportunity and be able to take some time off and go do this. I mean, you had to say yes to do it, but how does that look like for your real life? Does your employer, are they supportive? Do they mind you doing this? Or is there any friction that gets caused?
So I've been very fortunate that, yeah, like you'd mentioned, I do work for the federal government of Canada, but I'm able to work within the country at least. So the move up to Niagara to have this little last push up here for a couple weeks was not an issue. I've done it in the past before, working from up here, and I've actually been working pretty well straight through the last couple weeks as well. Honestly, I can mold my work around the 2-a-day training sessions up here. So I just told myself, so long as it's not an obstacle or it's not impeding my training to the level that I would want it to be, I'll just continue on business as usual, and that's what I've done. And I've been training very, very hard up here, and 2-a-days long, grueling sessions like that, and I've still been able to work around the work schedule as well. Mind you, you know what I mean? I'm not digging ditches all day or roofing all day, then going to the gym,
Yeah.
right? I have like a more of a white collar job, so I'm able to double my recovery as a bit of work in between as well. And it's almost nice. I was having this conversation with one of the coaches. Like, it's nice to be able to, after a training session, okay, recover, get my food into me, what have you, and then just sit down and turn the brain off and just focus on some work for a bit, and then head back to the gym and kind of dial back into the fight camp mode. So it's been, it's a balance. It's a work-life balance. You need to be able to handle both. But like I said, I've been doing it for quite some time now, so I'm pretty comfortable with balancing both. And I think it just goes kind of hand in hand with the mindset that I've adopted heading into this fight. It's like, it's just the next fight. Whether it's an FLA fight in front of 2,000 people or a UFC debut in Shanghai in front of 30,000, my mindset going into it's the very same. I'm not going to train any harder than I did previously because I was already training as hard as I possibly could. Like I said, I've already had the mindset of, I want to be a UFC fighter. So I've been acting like that for the majority of the past little bit here throughout my career. So, I mean, a lot of it's just business as usual. Go in and kind of do what got you to the dance, honestly.
Mm-hmm. I find that's a common attitude from a lot of fighters when they say that every fight, we're always in all the promotional things for different organizations. We see the biggest fight and the best fight and whatever, but in reality, your next fight is just your next fight. So it doesn't matter. It almost doesn't matter who it is because you still have to step in that cage and you've got to perform. So, whether he's the best fighter in the world or, number 20 in the world or a new fighter, he's still the guy you have to fight. So, I mean, your attitude's got to be, let's just do it.
100%, you know what I mean? And that's why I've always just adopted the mindset of, just train as hard as you possibly can. If you're legit about this sport and you want to be a professional fighter, then it's, you're not half in, half out. You're all in and you're fully committed to that. And that's been my lifestyle for, the last 4 or 5 years, ever since I was an amateur turning pro. That's just how I've kind of quietly gone about my training regimen. And so when I got the call, like I said, not a whole lot changes. I mean, the stage is bigger, you have more eyes on you, but that's all part and parcel with making the UFC. But for me, like I said, it's just keep the same attitude, keep the same hunger. This isn't the end goal. That was the goal, but now the work really begins, and you just keep doing what you're doing. So.
Let's move on now to your opponent for UFC Shanghai. His name is a Chinese fighter named Ding Meng. Did you know who he was when you were offered him?
No, I wasn't familiar with him. Obviously, I've gotten to know him over the last couple of weeks just preparing. I know he fought in Contender Series. He had a close fight on there, and then he went back in the regional scene, had a pretty quick finish, and then got called back to the UFC and fought in Macau at the end of May. So me and him would have fought essentially the same week when I fought in June in Halifax. And so I watched some tape, got to know him a little bit. He has a ton of experience. He's a finisher, very good striker. Seems pretty well rounded. Has like I said, a ton of experience. But I like the matchup. And like I said, I was waiting for this call. So when the UFC calls, it's not a if or what. It's just when and where do I sign and start getting ready. So.
China is an absolutely huge market, a huge potential market. It's risen pretty rapidly over the past couple of years from no MMA whatsoever to just like anything. It seems like it's accepted now and they just go for it, right? So I think this is almost like kind of a win-win situation for you. On the one hand, you're going in to enemy territory. You're fighting. You're a non-Chinese person fighting a Chinese person in China. So clearly, the crowd is going to be against you at a certain point. That being said, I do know that Canadians in general are pretty well respected in China and we're liked in general. So if you go in there and you put on a good performance and you've got a great win, I think still they're going to be appreciative of you and they're going to like you. So, I think it's a really good opportunity for you as opposed to maybe just going on a fight card in Canada.
100%. I think it's and like how much cooler of a UFC debut could you draw up, right, on a short notice fight in Shanghai across the world. I mean, this is just when I got the call, I was just over the moon. I was like, what an opportunity, what a UFC debut. Like, this is welcome to the UFC moment times 10, right? Because you're getting flown across the country to fight. So just super, super blessed for the opportunity, super thankful to my management team, to the UFC, Sean Shelby, Dana White, all of them, right, for giving me this opportunity. And just looking to go out there and make the most of it, man. Like it's like I said, these opportunities do not come around very often. So when you get the call, you make sure you say yes and you make the most of it. And like I said, I'm very thankful to have two really great gyms that help me prepare for this moment. And that's where my confidence stems from, is from being part of two really super accomplished, well-established gyms with great coaching and great training partners and people who are in my corner and looking out for me. And even being up here, like I said, I have Mikey and Jazz and Cody and people who have been there before in the UFC circle. So they've been prepping me a little bit. Okay, this is what fight week looks like. This is how fight week plays out. This is how the weigh-ins look, things like that. So just to get a little insight from them heading into this has been huge, right? And same with all the coaches, Chris and D Marks and Matthew Jelly up here. They've cornered numerous UFC fights, right? So to have them in my corner heading into fight week, it's going to be familiar for them, so they can kind of walk me through some things that are obviously going to be different than a local FLA show. But feeling very thankful and blessed for the opportunity and feeling ready to go do some work.
It's a pretty special situation you have where you, like you said, you've got a great gym back home, Henzo Gracie PEI. But when you were looking at finding maybe, quote unquote, a bigger gym to train at, to put some polishing touches on your fight game, out of all the gyms in Canada, all the gyms in the world, how did you pick Niagara Top Team?
I mean, I always followed NTT. Like, obviously, I was a big fan of Mikey's. I was a big fan of Aaron and Jazz. And then, obviously, I knew they had a very solid, deep pipeline of talent that's up and coming here as well. Like I said, there's Clayton, there's Bobby, there's Aiden. There's lots of people you've had in this podcast before. Alana, that I stay with, Alana Cook, she's fighting in Octagon in September, shortly thereafter me. Mm-hmm. And the list goes on. There's Hannah Taylor. Like, you know what I mean? I could, list them off till I'm blue in the face. But when it came to choosing NTT, it's actually my manager, Josh Hill, who had just fought there last weekend. Shout out to Josh. Congrats on the W. Mm-hmm. He is transitioning into a bit of a managerial role with Sucker Punch. And when I had signed with them prior to ever coming up here, he was like, hey, I train a lot at Niagara Top Team. If you'd ever want to come out, I can get you a spot to stay type thing. And then obviously I obliged and came up. And then from the first day I was up here, I was like, what a place to be, just great people and just elite level coaching and athletes around me. So it was a no-brainer, right? And obviously it's close to me as well. It's, it's a pretty short plane ride up from PEI to Toronto. So like I said, I think I've been up here 10 or 11 times now in the last couple of years between my own fight camps or coming up to help out with other people's fight camps as well. And like I said, overall, just, obviously the gym speaks for itself, but the people within it is what really sold me on it. Just the coaches and the athletes. They're just top notch people, top notch training partners, top notch athletes, and then they just welcomed me in. They were so welcoming when I first came in from day one. So it was really, like I said, a no brainer to make the jump and come up here.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the mantras, the Niagara Top Team mantras that they use, I'll say it out loud in just a moment, but it really reflects upon the attitude of what they have. You have all these high level fighters, like you mentioned, actual UFC fighters, PFL fighters, who are at the top of their game. And still, the mantra is hard work. That's what they put in every single day, is hard work. And if you're not a hard worker, you're not going to fit into that team. So just the fact that you're there repeatedly and they accept you means to me that you are a hard worker. So I think that's half of the victory, because once you go through the hard work, that means you're facing adversity and you're getting beat down. You've heard the saying, sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. I'm willing to bet that you're the nail a lot more at NTT than you are back home in Renzo Gracie PEI. So I think that's just really good for your development overall, and just your grit and your toughness, preparing you for higher level fights.
Certainly, obviously, and that's why I'm up here so often, making these fight trips and making these camps to come up here and prepare. Like I said, I'm rubbing shoulders, with Mikey Malott and AJ and everyone I've named so far. It's like, there's no easy rounds in this gym, all the way from the amateur fighters right up into the UFC headliners, right? So that's why I come up here, and then doubling down again on the coaching, man. Like Chris and Matt DiMarcantonio and Matthew Jelly, like just top of the line coaching. And you get things up here that you might not get in like a Kill Cliff or an ATT or something like that, where there's 30 UFC fighters on the mat, right? Like I get access to one-on-one coaching from these guys, and they can come over and watch specific rounds and coach me through specific situations. So to have them really paying attention to me and giving me certain feedback, and what, like I said, watching rounds and coaching me through rounds, it's really just it's priceless work, and I couldn't ask for a better team. So it's just it's a great opportunity. Like you said, I fly up here, and sometimes you're driving to practice, you're sore. It's second session of the day. I mean, I'm going to train with AJ after this. I can tell you right now, it's not going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy it, but he's, you know what I mean? Like, it's Aaron Jeffrey, so
I know
it speaks for itself, right? So it's, but that's why I'm up here, right? To get the hard rounds in, the hard work, to be the nail. So loving every minute of it.
Yeah. Going back to something you said a couple of minutes ago, you mentioned about how you have UFC fighters there who give you advice. Aaron Jeffrey gives you advice, tells you about what to expect through UFC fight camps and actually fighting in the UFC. And I'll never forget when I spoke with Jasmine after her first ever UFC appearance. And I asked her, I don't remember the exact words I used, but I asked her about, what was the thing she, maybe not what she regrets, but something she would have done differently. And she paused for a minute, and then she looked at me and she told me that she didn't take enough time to just absorb what was happening as it was happening. It was such a whirlwind. The first UFC fight, it was such a whirlwind, so much going on. Your eyes are big and wide. You're staring at the bright lights. You're seeing the whole UFC mechanism around you, and it's just awe-inducing. And she just realized afterward that she forgot a lot about it. She didn't remember or retain a lot about it. So she wished she would have just slowed down and just, looked around a little bit more and just absorbed it and memorized stuff so she could reflect on it later. And I'm wondering if that's something you've considered.
Yeah, for sure. I think it goes back to what I was saying about, the coaches and the athletes who have been, through that song and dance, have been, kind of prepping me for that. And that's kind of been a mantra of mine since I got the call a few weeks ago, and a mindset of mine. It's just, like, treat it like any other fight. Go about it just like you would. Obviously, there's going to be, more obligations, more eyes on it, more just, it's the UFC. It's the biggest organization in the world. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts. But my biggest thing is to, take it in, savor it, enjoy the moment, and, act like you've been there before almost, right, in a way. Because, at the end of the day, like we said, it's a 15-minute cage fight that I've, been doing for the last 6-7 years of my life. And I'm just going in with that same attitude. Obviously, you want to perform the best of your abilities, but I don't also want to put it on too much of a pedestal either, right? Because you don't want to get too caught up in the moment and make it bigger than it really is in a way. Because at the end of the day, it's just the next fight, like we were just mentioning about. So yeah, I fully intend on taking the moment in. Obviously, I'm getting flown across the country to fight in the UFC, man. Like, what an opportunity! What a privilege to have that pressure. So I'm gonna be sure to soak in all of fight week. Like I said, we land in Shanghai. I believe it's 11 a.m. on Monday, so I'll have Monday through Friday to kind of get my bearings about me and get the weight in check. And fight week, there's a lot of sitting around as well. You know what I mean? Because you're training, once, maybe twice a day, trying to get the weight down. But a lot of it, the work's done essentially. So you're just trying to make weight, and the rest of the day, you're probably just walking around and taking in the sights, right? And obviously, I'm going to be in Shanghai, China, so there'll be lots to take in. So I fully intend on, just taking moments throughout the week to just kind of step back and soak it all in. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Everybody, whether it's you or me or anybody else watching this interview, we all have goals. We have goals for the things we're doing in life. Obviously, your goal going into this is to win the fight, to have a victory. But there's also smaller micro goals that you need to accomplish in order to find long-term success. I'm wondering if you have any other goals that you hope to achieve when you're in the UFC or in a couple weekends' time.
Yeah, obviously, like you had mentioned, winning the debut, right? It's that's at the top of the list of the priorities, but kind of going back to what we keep saying, right? Like, it's the next fight. I've gone into every fight with the intention to win, to put on a good performance, to be exciting for the fans. But ultimately, I'm going to do what I have to do to get my hand raised in there. So, it's also not the Contender Series. There might be a little less pressure that you need that big flashy knockout to get the contract. Mm-hmm. So in a way, I believe that's almost advantageous for me, because I've always believed that, if you just go in hunting for the finish or hunting for the knockout, sometimes it won't materialize, right? You kind of have to take what's given to you. So in this one, I'm just looking to go in, put on another great performance, and live up to my capabilities and put my skills on display for the world to see. But the goal is always to win the next fight. And I'm not here to just make the UFC and have my flowers and say, oh, I made it. No, like I said, this is where the work begins, and I fully intend on carving out a long UFC career, like the people who have kind of paved the way before me, right? So I'm following in their footsteps. The previous Canadian greats, and Mikey and Jazz have kind of set the bar very high. So I really plan and on working to trying to achieve that to my fullest capabilities, and just put my best foot forward, and obviously taking care of business on August 29th, and then shifting gears and focusing on the next one, regardless of the result. A wise man once told me, you either win or you learn. So that's a Matt McGrath quote for you right there. So I've always kind of kept that very near and dear to my heart, and that's the mantra going into this weekend, next weekend.
I've only got one last question that I'm going to ask you, and that's the same question I end with all my interviews with everybody. But before we get to that, I'm just going to give you a little bit of interesting knowledge. So MMA.ca, we don't have any awards, although maybe that's something we should do at some point. But I just want to share with you the news that I don't know how it happened. I don't know why. Maybe you could explain to me why. But my post about you making it the UFC, that is my number one ranked post I've ever made on this channel in a decade or whatever it is. It used to be Simon Marcus when I did an interview with him before he fought Bobby Poulter. And now yours just kept on going, man. It kept growing. It's at tens, it's over 70,000 views, and it's still growing every day. I'm just wondering, like, I know you're popular, man, but is there any explanation why that just took off like that?
Sorry, you cut out.
Put you on the spot. I don't know.
You're just I mean, hey, it's I think I have a ton of East Coast support, and obviously I'm signed to the UFC, so people are taking a little more notice, and I'm just very thankful for the huge amount of support I get. Obviously, it's predominantly, I feel like, from the East Coast, but going back to me describing Renzo Gracie PEI, like the East Coast, it's small but mighty, man. We have a thriving martial arts community out there that's built on strong bonds and relationships, and I've been blessed from my first amateur fight right up until now with a super strong support system from everyone up there. And then obviously, mixing my time up in Niagara now, I've gotten a little bit more of a fan base up here now, just from rubbing shoulders with the right people up here and being up here all the time. But yeah, that's super cool. I mean, you love people being in your corner and the support. So I think it's just it speaks to, like I said, a lot of it is from probably the East Coast, and it's an untapped. There's a lot of untapped potential out there, and it's just a growing martial arts community. And like I said, for being a small island, or combination of islands throughout the Maritimes, it's a very passionate martial arts community, and to be able to be heading into this opportunity, repping the island, repping the Maritimes. It's something that I take a lot of pride in, and I'm just super proud to be from Prince Edward Island, to be Canadian, to have this opportunity in the UFC to rep our small island. So just super thankful, and yeah, I think that's super cool, man. I love hearing that.
Okay, last question. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think we should have talked about?
I think we covered a lot of it, Andy. I mean, we just spoke not too long ago after my last win in June there, so
Yeah.
we had a great chat. But like I said, just super thankful for the opportunity. Want to shout out both gyms. Like I said, Niagara Top Team. I do a ton of work up here. Like I said, I'm staying in Chris's basement right now. The coach, he welcomed me in when I called him and told him about the opportunity. He said, "No questions asked. Whatever you need, come stay with me." Like, so, to be able to have people like that in your corner who just stop everything they're doing to help you, like, it goes to show just the character, and how much they care about their athletes, and the people around them. So just super super thankful to have them. And like I said as well, my home gym, Henzo Gracie PEI, shout out to everyone there back home for always looking out for me and helping me out and give me those rounds, and always being there to put my career ahead of theirs sometimes for a lot of people. So just super thankful for everyone that goes out of my way. And then lastly, just a special mention to my late coach, Matt McGrath. I wouldn't be here without him. He was in my corner for essentially my entire career up until his passing in late January of this year. So I have the best guardian angel heading into August 29th, and I can really always feel him. Me and him have lots of chats, and really looking forward to getting this done for him.
Well, Cam, you've made us proud by your accomplishments, and your future is looking bright. And I'm sure Matt is up there smiling down, proud at you as well. So, congratulations on everything, my man.
Love that. Appreciate it, Andy. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Cam, great talk with you, man. Cameron Nelson fighting his UFC debut, UFC Shanghai, 29th of August from Shanghai, China. Radley, it's great to see you, my man. It's been a while since we chatted. How have things been?
Yeah, it's good to talk again. They've been good. They've been good. I can't remember the last time we chatted, if it was before my last one or before the contenders one, but yeah, it's been a minute.
It's been, I think I've seen you in person since then. I attended a BFL, I'm going to say in March or April. Was it the last one anyway? So I got to see you there.
Okay, if it was in May,
May,
you
that's when it was.
if it was in May, then you would have saw me because I fought in that one. But if it
I
was the
know.
earlier
Yeah.
one,
It was
yeah,
actually
then
May 7th. It was May 7th.
okay, yeah, that was the one I fought in. Yeah, the last one.
I always find it kind of interesting. Why does BFL have their shows on Thursday nights?
I think it has to do with the Fight Pass scheduling, right?
Mm.
Something like that. So.
Yeah, anyway, that makes sense. Anyway, it works out for a lot of people, and it works out for me. So anyway, let's talk about you. So it's been a while. You're still busy. You are still, I'm not trying to shine you up too much, but you're still one of Canada's hottest prospects. You're widely regarded as a very skilled, talented, young up and comer who has a lot of potential. And you are still grinding in the regional scene right now, putting on good fights, winning good fights, trying to get noticed by the UFC and get brought back into that organization again. So I'm just wondering, on a personal level, what's it like just having that inside you, knowing that it's achievable, it's close, but you just have to keep on grinding, you have to keep on working. Is there ever a point where you get like demoralized or think, man, I don't want to keep going at this? Or is it just something you're so confident that you know it's going to happen, you just need to put in the time?
It's kind of one of those things where, for me personally, it's like I don't do it because the UFC exists. I would be fighting regardless because martial arts is what I've done my whole life. So, I mean, for me, it's easy. I'm on, as they say, house money because I started fighting again when I was 27.
Mm-hmm.
After a whole lifetime of martial arts, and for me, I'm just doing it because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't at least try to get a fight career going with all the experience I have in martial arts. So For me, yeah, I'm just every fight is just a blessing, a chance to get to go in there and perform and use what I learned my whole life, all the skills that I learned. It'd be like going to school for 20 years and then not getting a job in the field you're in, you
Hmm.
studied in. So yeah, for me, it's more about my personal journey as a martial artist than anything about UFC. That's just kind of where people always say, "Oh man, you should be fighting in the UFC. You're so good, whatever." But for me, that's great. It's more about putting on performances and improving as a martial artist. And I
Yeah.
think eventually the big promotions will call me in. That's kind of without a doubt type thing. But that's not what I stress on each time. So I just want to
Hmm.
make sure I'm the best version of myself I can be when I do get into those places, not just go in there and because a lot of guys get into the UFC and they have like a couple fights and they're out.
Hmm.
I'd rather be in there and like make a run for the title or top rankings instead of filter out. So I just want to make sure I'm prepared more than anything.
Hmm. Now, the UFC is well known for wanting certain things in the fighters they bring in. One of the things they really want to see is exciting finishes. They want to see a great submission, a great knockout, like your incredible knockout of the year, your spinning wheel kick, head kick a couple of years ago. Absolutely one of the most incredible knockouts I've ever seen in my life. How much pressure is on a fighter, or you in this case, to put on an outstanding performance and not just win a fight? Because as we know, winning a fight sometimes is not enough.
For me, it's not pressure about putting on performances for other people. I feel like if you were to live that kind of life, it would just be pointless stress. Like, you know what I mean? Like imagine, going to your job and only thinking about what other people want from you. It's just gonna make your performance a little less. Like for me
Hmm.
personally, it's about asking for what I know I can do. A lot of the times in my earlier fights, it was like I just want to get the win. I want to prove that I can beat this guy. But now that I've proven to myself that I am world class, I also just want to prove that the things that I'm working on in the gym are actually working and like asking more of myself in those fights. So like the last few fights after the contender series, I'm thinking to myself, I want to do good in these areas in a fight, and just being able to
Hmm.
implement that in the fight usually leads to a finish. But at the end of the day, as a martial artist, the most important thing is to go in there, get the win, and leave with your faculties intact. You don't want to
Hmm.
be critically maimed and all that. But but at that same time, as someone who's a perfectionist and someone who's a competitor, I want to improve and get better, and that includes asking more of myself, which means asking for finishes and knowing that I do enough in the gym to be able to ask for those kind of results.
Hmm. Fantastic. Now, being aware that we're a little bit short on time for this conversation, let's move straight on to the fight at BFL 88. You're fighting an Argentinian named Lucas Corbage. When you were offered him as an opponent, do you know who he was?
I knew he was Jeremy Kennedy and him had the main event for that Battlefield fight originally,
Yeah.
and I was looking for an opponent since like June. So I was just getting ready for a date roughly around late July, early August, and I wasn't able to find anyone. Looking all over the world, really, people in Europe, in Brazil, USA, like everywhere, looking for an opponent, and I wasn't able to get one. And I was still training for the day, and then I got noticed that Jeremy Kennedy is. He has a different fight lined up for a different
Yep.
promotion, so he had to pull out of his fight. And yeah, I was more than ready to step in. 155. I can make the weight easily on that short notice. It's a short notice opponent, but it's not a short notice camp for me because I've been training
Hmm.
since June for the date.
Now that you've had a chance to analyze your opponent and just take a look at his skill set, what are your thoughts on him? How's Radley Da Silva's path to victory in this fight?
Yeah, he's freaking really good dude, man. He's a heavy puncher and good jujitsu. So he's one of those like archetypes as like an opponent that you get in MMA. Everyone has their kind of thing. It's like boxer, wrestler. Like kickboxer, jujitsu, or whatever. But his is like very strictly, heavy-handed jiu-jitsu fighter, kind of like a Diego Lopez kind of style. And
Sure.
yeah, he's got lots of finishes, and we're definitely one of the toughest opponents that I'll be having on my record. He's got a great record and lots of experience, so it's the perfect type of fight where I am at in my career right now.
When you mentioned that you're spending all your time looking for fights and trying to find opponents, I picture you sitting in a basement over a keyboard, like type, looking for names and stuff. But you must have a management team that help you out. And I know that BFL is very supportive of you, and they like propping you up. They like giving you opportunities. So when you're looking for a fight, what does that mean? Is that just you, or is that a whole team, or how does that work?
It's a team now. I recently signed with like Iridium, and of course, Battlefield's always looking themselves for guys for me to fight on their show. So it's like Iridium, we got Battlefield, and then you actually do have me in the dark looking looking on my phone, looking through Tapology and sending these guys profiles to my manager and the BFL team, being like, hey, can you reach out to these guys? Reach out to. I've sent like over 30, 40 people in the last like couple months, and like no one said yes, and I was getting a little getting a little dark there. I was like, man, I'm putting all this work in for a camp, no fight, and things work out the way they're supposed to. I really feel it was meant to be for me to be headlining this show anyway, so yeah, I worked out at the end.
Now, another way that fighters often get fights these days, especially, is it seems as if a call out happens. Now, I know this is, I'm not a big fan of trash talk and all that kind of stuff, but it does happen. And somebody who's been very vocal lately about you and your past fights is Leo Bonin. He's talking shit about you. He's making comments and stuff, and you've retaliated back and forth. Just wondering if that's a fight that's even worth your while at this point. He's doing well, but he's got a few less fights than you. Do you want to reward that kind of behavior? Is that a fight you would take, or is that just something you're not interested in?
I don't know if he was like talking too much shit. I just saw one specific comment saying like, "Oh, he fought this guy," and it's like,
Yeah,
okay, if we want to talk stats here, I don't think you can even like hold a candle to my stats. But anyways, not necessarily like there's no one on the regional scene that I'm like, oh yeah, I have to fight this guy. Like I'm looking at international competition right now. I'm looking at saying I can beat guys from all over the world to like really make my case.
yeah, no,
Sorry,
that makes perfect sense for me.
yeah,
And no,
because
don't
sorry, go
keep
ahead.
going. No, you go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, a lot of times guys in Canada, they get flack for people saying, oh, the Canadian regional scene's weak. You're only fighting guys from Canada. You're not proven. And like that. So I made it a really big point for me to be fighting international competition as soon as I possibly could. So
Mhm.
now I actually haven't fought a dude in Canada since like I think it was Southsea was the last dude I fought that was Canadian.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah,
just trying to show people that it's like no, my talent isn't just nationally
sure.
concentrated. I can only beat national dudes in Canada. That I can beat all the prospects from other countries and all around the world. But
Mhm.
yeah, to answer your question, like this, yeah, there's nothing that really entices me about that matchup. Like fighting, like a 50-50 record fighter with way less fights than me. I've never fought someone with less fights than me. So there's no title. Like there's just nothing intriguing. Like I want to get finishes and I want to fight at the highest level. I'm not trying to, get into regional beefs that, there's
Yeah.
nothing, doesn't do anything for my wallet or anything or my pride or anything like that. So
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for the answer. And Radley, we had a time limit for this interview because you have plans. You've got to get going, and we've reached our time. So I just want to thank you very much. I know it's always exciting leading up into fight week, but I will ask you one final question, and that is there anything you think we should have talked about that I didn't ask you?
um oh, UFC Edmonton.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm right now. I'm like, I feel like I'm on that list definitely of guys for short notice calls. I got the right people behind me, pushing my name forward, and I've had the results on all over the place. Titles, wins, finishes, and I think a good finish here, a good result, is definitely going to put my name at the top of the list. There's maybe like three or so guys that are there with me, like
Mhm.
couple from the east side, but I think on the west side, and considering the show is in Edmonton, there's probably like two people that really are on the list, and I think I'm one of those guys. So if I get a good performance here, I don't see why not. And definitely, if someone pulls out, I'll be more than ready. So I'll keep my weight down and I'll be ready.
Well, I'm glad I asked because just before we chatted, we're chatting now, I found out that Calgary's Chad Anheliger has been added onto the UFC Edmonton card, so that's fantastic. That brings the amount of fights on that card so far to 10. with all 10 fights having a Canadian in there. That means a fight night, a typical fight night, will have 12 to 13 bouts. So we're looking at 2 or 3 more. I think Javad Majub heavyweight might be on it, but that's not confirmed yet. So maybe 1 or 2 spots left. So you're right. If you have a good performance, you're ready. You're with Iridium now. They can just make sure the UFC knows you're ready. That's a distinct possibility.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and yeah, like I can fight multiple weight classes too. Like I, I'm a pretty big featherweight, so 155, 145, and like even my teammate Tristan Connolly fought on short notice. He's a 45er, and
I know.
he fought at 170. So I'm the same deal, right? I can get big enough to even have to cut weight to fight 170. So I can cover 3 weight classes. I'm more than confident, whatever the situation comes. And as far as accolades, I think I'll have done enough. Like I'll have 7 championship titles in the regional scene, 10 fight win streak. If I get a finish, it'll be 6 finishes in my last 7 fights. Yeah, there's just the list goes on of like the reasons why I should be there. And at the end of the day, all that matters is putting on a good fight, good performance, and the rest kind of deals with itself.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Radley, my man, thank you once again. I appreciate your time. And we'll close out the interview now. So, fans watching, Radley Da Silva, main event, BFL 88 in Vancouver next weekend. Make sure you watch him on UFC Fight Pass. Nic Ouellet, it's great to talk to you. How you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thanks. I'm happy to be speaking with you. You are a fighter who I've been really interested in for a long time. You and your brother Raphael are kind of, I wouldn't know if I'd say you're unique, but you're very interesting for sure. When I talk with different people about you, a lot of people sort of think of you guys as the Canadian Diaz brothers. I'm wondering if that's something you've heard of before, and if that's something that's appropriate, or if you like that, or you disagree.
Yeah. Me and my brother love the Diaz brothers. We grew up watching the Diaz brothers, but it's not something we're forcing or trying to say we're like or anything like that. It's just what people have labeled on top of us, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just monkey see, monkey do. We watch the best in the world, and you know we have our own style. It's just who we are. We're just authentic people. We just put it all out there when we fight, and you see it in the cage.
Well, whatever you're doing is working because the two of you are extremely popular in British Columbia. You've got a big names. People love watching you fight. That's got to make you feel kind of good knowing that something that you put so much time and effort into is appreciated by the fans.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I love the support. It's awesome. Um, yeah, just gonna keep putting on amazing shows for everybody to watch.
Now, as I mentioned, you guys are extremely popular in British Columbia. You've had the majority of your fights in BFL. You've done some traveling out. You fought at Samurai before. Would you mind taking a moment just for the rest of the fans across the country? Just introduce yourself, say who you are, where you're from, where you live, and how you got involved in combat sports.
My name's Nic Ouellet, and I was born in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. And I moved to BC with my family when I was young, and grew up in British Columbia. From Powell River, BC. Training there since I was a preteen. I've been training martial arts my whole life since I was in diapers, and here we are.
How would you describe your fighting style, Nick?
I'm well rounded. I grew up striking first, and then I found jiu-jitsu when I was super young, so I'm very comfortable everywhere. I'm a very uh, I'm very what's the word, flow, I guess. I don't force anything. I just go out there, and let it all happen. I don't go in there with like a little specific game plan. Like, yeah, I have little things, but I go out there and feel it out.
For sure. Although if a casual fan was just looking at your record on Topology or something, they would notice that you have a lot of submissions, man. And I know that the submission game is something I figure you must love it because you do it so well.
Yeah, it's the money maker for sure. It's what gets people out of there. Um, yeah, I don't have the most power in the world, I guess. So I chipper away at them, and then they give me their neck.
Mm. Maybe you could help paint a picture for me and everybody watching. Powell, I'm not overly familiar with Powell River. I think it's north of Sunshine Coast, is it?
Powell River is part of the mainland, but it's kind of like it's kind of its own secluded place, and you need to get there by ferry. So it's not part of the island. We need to take a ferry to the island to get there.
Mm.
It's 2 ferries away from Vancouver, so it's a little bit away.
And what's the training environment? Talk about your gym and your teammates and your coaches and everything where you prepare for fighting.
Gym's great. I have my brother Raf. I have Nelson Sprue helping me prepare over there. I have a couple other guys that I train with that are under the radar that help me out. I have my dad, Nic Ouellet, who's been my coach since I was young. Um, and then I get some traveling in for training as well. Um, I go down to Martial Arts Unlimited in Victoria, train with Greg Lamoth and the guys there. They help me out with my striking, and I go get a lot of work in with Max Tamel and Jean-Marc de Groot down there at Van Al Jiu Jitsu. Um, I also try and get some time, like me and my brother, go down to Lance Gibson's
Hmm.
and train with them, and that's been very very helpful. Julia Budd, Lance Gibson, they've been helping me out a lot. Um, and it's been giving me different looks, and it's just what we need, right?
Yeah, for sure. Now, you mentioned some pretty big names in there. Lance Gibson, both of them, father and son, both fought in the UFC. Lance Jr. still there. Julia Budd, multiple time contender, world champion. Talk about the importance of having quality, high level training partners and how that elevates your training.
It's super important just to get different looks, you know. But I think what's most important is the performance itself. You can put in the best camp in the world. Like I've had camps that are amazing, and you just on the day you don't feel the greatest. So I think the most important is showing up on the day and fucking do the damn thing.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about this upcoming weekend. You are fighting Jake Geauvreau from Ottawa for the RMF title. What is the RMF title?
RMF, it stands for ruthless motherfucker, and it's basically the BFL's version of the BMF.
Yeah,
And yeah, people pad their record. People try to hold on and win on points, and that's not the essence of fighting. I think I like to go in there and finish fights. I like to be entertaining and make it a show, and that's what it is, you know. So I think that's what the RMF is.
nice. Let's talk about Jake for a second. When you first were offering him as an opponent, he mostly fights in Ontario, but he has done some traveling. Did you know who he was, and what was your initial thought about this as an opponent for you?
Yeah, yeah, I've heard of him before, and he's a talented opponent, uh, top guy. You know, he's on the come up, and he just fought a really good guy too. So I find that respectable. He also fought, or he's fought. I fought a guy that he trains with,
Matteo
Mateo
Vogel.
Vogel, right? So uh, I know him because of that. Other than that, yeah, it's gonna be a fun fight. I'm excited.
So you've had a chance to take a look at his fight style, and I'm sure look at some of his previous fights. What's the perfect fight look like for Nic Ouellet going against Jake Geauvreau?
We go in there and hit him with as much as I possibly can until eventually I find a submission or a knockout. That's the best possible scenario. Go in there and break him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna break the kid.
One thing I've noticed about you in the past is it seems like you have got a never-ending gas tank. You just keep on going. Is that something you've cultivated over time, like you train specifically for, or is that just something that sort of you've been a natural athlete like that?
I think cardio is super important, but I think what's more important than that is knowing when to use it to canalize your
Mm,
energy. So using your energy wisely, I think, is more important. Everyone's in shape when you're in the pros. We're all in good shape. We all have good cardio. We all hit hard. It's all a matter of using that energy wisely. You know, especially for five round fights.
for sure. What's it like competing for BFL so much, knowing that you've got a world-class organization essentially in your backyard? It's on UFC Fight Pass. You can be seen by millions of very important eyeballs.
Oh, I love BFL. Yeah, they're great. I've seen them grow as well since I've been in the amateurs too. So it's been really cool since they've been with Fight Pass, like watching them grow and stuff. They do a good job promoting the fighters and they treat us well. So yeah, they put on good shows.
That's awesome. All right, I guess I'm going to finish up the interview and ask you the question I like asking to end these things. I'll say, Nick, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think we should have talked about?
Uh, no, no, I'm good. Whatever you want to talk about, man. I'm ready for the fight. I'm cutting the weight. Tomorrow I'm gonna be on weight and fucking showtime on Thursday.
Awesome. Well, I won't. I was hoping to be there on Thursday night, but I'm actually in Europe right now. I'll be arriving back in Canada on Thursday, so I won't be able to be there in person. But I'll try my best to watch on Fight Pass if I'm not in the air. And I just want to wish you the best of luck. I hope. I like saying this to fighters. I hope you are the best Nic Ouellet you can be that night, and I hope you perform your best. And I hope you have a great fight. And I wish you luck.
Hey, I appreciate the support, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Enjoy the show.
All right, there you go, fight friends. Nic Ouellet fighting for the RMF title at BFL 88 against Jake Geauvreau this Thursday evening. Christopher Balodis, welcome to the MMA show. Do you go by Christopher or by Chris?
Christopher.
Awesome. Well, Christopher, would you mind taking a moment? This is going to be the first time that a lot of my viewership is probably ever heard of you or ever going to see of you. Do me a favor, just introduce yourself, say who you are, where you're from, and why we're talking.
Yeah, so I'm fighting August 29th for the Mayhem Amateur Lightweight title. I fight out at Hitters Fight Club and Grants MMA in the Mat Factory, and I'm just here to take over the province, the country, and make a statement.
Where are you based out of?
So I live in Toronto and I fight out at Hitters Fight Club, so downtown Toronto.
Nice. Now, I've been familiar with you for a few years. You've actually been quite active. You've fought more than a half dozen times just in a couple of years. And it seems like every time a local fight promotion puts on a fight card, I see your name on there. You've done really well for yourself. You've had some great wins. You've had a couple tough losses that you've learned from in both MMA and pancration. But it seems to me, I think I've only seen you fight in person once, but you seem like you're a really well-rounded, skilled young man. Talk to me about how you got to where you are now, how you got involved in combat sports, and what you think about the whole thing.
So I got involved about 5 years ago. I started training, just walked into actually the gym I manage and coach out of now, just looking for an outlet, and I discovered early on that I could be really good at this right away. I had like an inclination, a feeling. Nobody else was telling me I could be good at this. There wasn't any external noise saying pursue this, but I knew internally that I could do something special in the sport. And over the years, fought in Muay Thai, fought in boxing. Then I met my head coach, Evan, who runs and owns and coaches at a Hitters Fight Club. And then after that, it was just blood, sweat, tears, hard work, obsession, 7 days a week. That man doesn't take a day off, and the only time I get a day off is if he gives me a day off. So I was lucky and grateful enough to meet him and meet Coach Chad Pearson and the team at Grants MMA and the Mat Factory, and just put constant hours and hours and hours in the gym, just building my skills, my career, and just always trying to take the next step, even if it's in the gym. Tom Brady talks about winning practice, not winning a drill or beating somebody up in practice, but treat practice like a game and go into practice with the intensity that the game demands and actually create growth.
How old are you now, and how old were you when you started training?
I walked in the first gym at 18 years old, and I'm currently 23, turning 24 in November. So
Prior to
got to
that, were
put
you we sorry about that. Prior to that, were you sporty at all? Were you doing any other sports?
no team sport background. I didn't grow up playing football or hockey or rugby or anything. I was always an athletic kid, but never really had the opportunity to play team sports. And I found mixed martial arts at 18 and realized you don't need a team. You don't need the funding. You just need your hands, and you can
Yeah,
throw them well. You get paid in the sport eventually.
yeah. Now, you mentioned that when you stepped into the gym, you realized this is something you could be good at. It's my experience that knowing that you can be good at something only takes you so far. Yeah, if you want to be successful, if you want to keep going, you have to actually like what you're doing and enjoy it. So tell me, is it something that you love doing, or is it just something that you're doing because you think you're good at it?
So the obsession built really early on. From the second I walked in the gym, all I wanted to do was put all my time into the gym, into the sport, and I found that every other area in my life instantly became secondary. And like it was at the time that I first started training, I would run. I didn't have a car, so I'd run to the gym. That's 3 kilometers with my training bag on my back, do the afternoon class, walk home, then I would be at home, watch film, and then I would run to the gym for 6 o'clock, do for the 6 to 9. Then I would be lucky enough to get a ride, or I would close the gym to cover my membership, and then I would walk back home and just repeat, repeat. So the obsession from the enjoyment, and just giving my everything to something built really on when there was nobody telling me to pursue
Mm-hmm.
fighting, nobody telling me that this is a career. people actually telling me, "Don't fight. We're not going to get you a Muay Thai fight. You're not good enough yet. You need to train more." I said, "Okay, cool. There's no apparent future that you guys see, but I see it. I feel it, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen." And every single day, just putting in constant reps, I made something for myself.
Is there any part of the fight game that you especially love more than others? Like, do you love groundwork? Do you love the clinch? Do you love striking? Anything else?
I think the mixing of the martial arts is where the enjoyment is, right? Like I hear this all the time. Chris, why don't you just box? Why don't you do this? The money's in boxing. It's you need the full fight. It's not a fight until you can level change, until you can take the person down, so you can throw a kick behind the entry. You want to mix all your weapons all the time, and I think that's where true greatness is. It's in the ability to throw your
Mm-hmm.
hands and then feign a level change and come back with another weapon and chain your attacks, chain your martial arts, and offensively and defensively minded, attack from position to position and show true dominance when it's like one man versus another man. There's no rules in this. Obviously, sadly, there's rules, but there's no limitations to the weapons I can throw.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about your fight environment. You talked about hitters. You talked about some of your coaches. Is there such a thing as a typical training day for you? Do you have main training partners? And just talk about your training routine.
Yeah, so the training routine is it's early mornings, it's late nights. I'm lucky enough to have a coach that's fully invested in me, and he gives me every single day. Whether the gym's closed and it's a long weekend, he's in the gym in the morning with me, or holidays, birthday, it doesn't matter. He's there, and I'm there too. The environment's professional style room. It's very intense, and it's probably a room that most people don't get to come into, right? You got to give you everything. You got to be on time. You got to be early. You got to prepare to perform, and you have to perform to be in that room. So it's an honor and a privilege for me to represent Hitters Fight Club and to to be in that environment. The environment's very demanding. We have a small MMA team. I'm lucky enough to have a couple training partners that come in the early mornings, and we get a professional style practice in. And it's for MMA, it's a very like privatized. Um, Team environment, right? With a professional level coach watching every single move like a hawk, and you got to perform, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
I do my sparring at Aegis MMA. I'm very grateful to do my sparring in that room with some of the best guys in the country. And a lot of times I go to Pittsburgh as well. I go to Pennsylvania. I go to the Mat Factory, tighten everything up out there. I also had the privilege of doing a lot of training at Grant's MMA with one of the best coaches and some of the best teammates in the country as well. So I'm very grateful to be in these rooms. We also got Coach Chad Pearson at Hitters Fight Club, and if you know anything about Coach Chad, he's a one of one.
Yeah,
He's got a mind
he's
for
a
the
dynamo.
sport. Yeah, he's got a mind for the sport like no other. So I'm very grateful to have him in my corner. And yeah, that's a very special man. So overall, I'm sometimes shocked and in awe that my hard work results in me putting myself in these environments where I'm around some of the best people in the world.
Mm-hmm. So, what's your plan? Is this something that's I mean, everyone I talk to, I think they think it's going to be their long-term goal, but I'm just wondering what your thought process is on this. Do you have like a sort of strategic plan moving forward? Do you have milestones you want to reach at certain times, or where are you with that?
Yeah, so I'm very, very determined and focused on my goals. I know exactly what I need to do to start getting paid in this sport and to make money in the sport once I start getting paid. And that's the number one thing. I need to be accommodated for the work, and that's up to me and my decision making, right? It's my decisions in the cage and in the practice room that result in equity in the sport. So ultimately, I know the next step is next Saturday, August 29th, putting on a performance and executing every single thing that I've been working on and working so hard for. And then it's really up to the coaches, but we also know that we can make a quick turnaround, get active again, and close out the amateur career. But just one step at a
Mm-hmm.
time. It's just decision making, right? Like turning pro, like sure that's great. That's exactly what's going to happen, but it's just decision making. Just I make the right decisions on Saturday. I make the right decisions leading up to it. I make the right decisions after, and everything like a domino effect just falls right into line. And then in 3 years' time, I'll look back at this and I'll be compensated. I'll be well off.
Mm-hmm. So is that the plan? You come out of next weekend with a win in your tally bracket. Is that going professional? What's going to happen?
Very, very soon. Like I said, there's no definitive timeline.
Sure.
The responsibility is on my decision making and my execution. That's exactly what I'm going to take care of. And then my team and I get to reflect on the work that's put in and see where we're at. And maybe we take another amateur fight quickly. I'm always in shape. I'm in the gym 7 days a week. Or another opportunity lines up, right? There's a lot of opportunities, and I'm putting myself at the forefront of the sport in the province and in the country. And I feel like I've already built somewhat of a name for myself, right? Every time you see Christopher
Mhm.
Balodis on a card, you know it's going to be a fucking performance. Every time you see me fight, everybody's always pleased. They're always happy. They know what I bring and they know who I am. And soon we're just going to be reaching higher heights.
Listening to you speak and some of the words and phrases you use, I'm reminded very much, or it makes me think that you have a lot of, for lack of a better phrase, I'll say self help background, rightly, wrongly, but I mean that in a good way. It seems like you're very aware of mindset. It seems like you're very aware of. You said the word privilege about 10 times. You're very aware of how gratitude can be beneficial towards just overall health and mental well being, and it seems like you're really aware of the thought process and the thinking part of this fight game. So is that something you do consciously? Do you read any books about mental strength training, or is that something your coaches have implemented, or am I just looking way too much into a couple words?
No, man, you're actually making me like that. That's the best thing I've heard in an interview ever because I've always been very, very focused on like emotional intelligence awareness and just awareness of myself. At an early age, I realized early on in my life that wherever I put my energy, I can make things happen. And I was always like a believer, but I always understood the work takes the belief. So I never really necessarily did like a deep study in a psychology or performance mindset. I am always reading. Like yes, I am always reading. I am always studying. I'm always looking to gain more knowledge. But I do think inherently it is a part of my character. I'm kind of an emotional person, and fighting is really really amazing because I get to put all of my energy and emotion into one thing, and that thing being the self. I get to figure out how do I operate under pressure? How do I operate with this grand task that I'm volunteering and taking on? And how can I be my best through taking this on? And then obviously
Mhm.
there's trial and error. You're gonna fuck up. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna have bad days. You're gonna have great days, and you're gonna learn about yourself. So instead of repeating the same action of feeling great about myself or feeling down on myself, I reflect, I journal, I write it out, I think about it. I've been doing a lot of visualization lately just to fully focus on the performance I'm going to have, and I'm also very lucky to have a coach that understands the mental game too. Um, and we journal after every single practice. That's a part of my practice. After every single practice, I'm in the gym doing the work for about 90 minutes to 2 hours, but I'm in the gym 30 minutes before, doing my warm up, doing my static stretching, writing in my journal on the skills I'm developing. After the practice, I'm in the gym with my coach for an hour, damn near 90 minutes sometimes. We're doing a practice review. I write out my journal, and then we go over it, and we're always doing the mental work and the mental reps because you can only push your body so far, but the mind's a muscle that you have to work if you want to see maximal return.
Mhm. Now, some fighters might listen to you say all that and think to themselves, "Man, that sounds exhausting. I'm not going to do all that. Like, what's the return on investment for doing that kind of
Yeah.
work?"
Yeah. Confidence, supremacy. It's not just confidence. Any man can be falsely confident, but supremacy and supreme confidence comes from knowing you did the work. It's knowing
Mhm.
that you gave your everything and you did your absolute best, right? You can lie and be falsely confident. False confidence is still real confidence. I tell people that too. I'm like, yo, fake it till you make it, because if you say it with your chest, no one believes the difference, right?
Mhm.
But when you truly analyze yourself and analyze the work, and you have a great practice, you have a great fight, you have a great sparring day, and then you analyze it and figure out why was this great, or the inverse, why did today not go so well, what happened. You have to be truthful. when you communicate the whys to somebody else that is looking over everything, you can't lie them in the face.
Oh, I lost you, Chris. Yeah, just yeah, I heard you up until you said you can't look at them and lie to their face.
Okay, sorry. Rogers called me. I hung up on that. We're good to go?
Okay.
We're still
Yeah,
going?
we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, when you have somebody overseeing the work and the whys to why today was a good day or why today wasn't a great day, they can see through the bullshit, right? So at the end of the day, I'm lucky enough to have this understanding of self in the mental game, but I'm also having it being overseen. So there can't be any falsification of the truth, right? People are smart, they know when you're lying to them. If I had a shit day and I'm looking at my coach and telling him, "Oh, today went great because of this, this, and this," it's you both know you're playing yourself, right? And the man that does that is gonna walk into that cage and I'm gonna fucking maul them,
Yeah.
right?
So speaking about mauling the guy in the cage across from you, let's talk about your upcoming fight at Mayhem.
Yes, sir.
Mayhem Fight Promotions is a newish organization. This is their fourth event. So far, they've had really good shows. I've attended one of them in person. Good production values. Really, it seems like they're really on the ball when it comes to scoping out good quality local talent. And you were initially supposed to be fighting somebody I knew very well named Sung Jin Lim. I first saw him fight. I'm gonna say like 15 years ago in New Brunswick, and he was an amateur then. A very well-rounded fighter. However, that fight fell through, and now you're fighting Cody Adair for the Mayhem Lightweight Championship. Talk to me about having. First of all, when did that opponent switch happen? And talk to me about what goes through your mind when you hear that.
So I got the message on Saturday morning. Um, right away, the promoter started typing, stopped typing, and I knew. I was like, "Oh shit, it's gonna be a bad Saturday." But right away, they had a replacement. So shout out Mayhem. That's amazing. As a fighter, when somebody pulls out, it's like the world drops. My fight's canceled. Oh my god.
Yeah.
In the same message of him pulling out, they had another name. Um, so right away, I was a little disappointed because I do like when things are done professionally, and I love an agreement to fight. I love when it's like, okay, Sung and I agreed for 5 to 6 weeks that we're gonna give each other the best approach because I want the best opponent who's ready for me, right? Not just ready for a cage fight, but I like it. Try to pick me apart, and then I'm gonna eat. But it's fighting, man. How many times does Dana White call somebody on 7 days' notice? Hey,
Mm-hmm.
take this fight, yes or no? What are you going to say? You're a
You're gonna say
fighter.
yes.
You better
Yeah.
say yes or you're in the wrong career. So when I get the news that the original opponent pulled out, yeah, I am upset. Yes, there is emotion. But really quickly, that emotion's used to look at the opportunity in front of me. Okay, we have a new name. Let's agree. Let's figure out who this guy is because a name, I need to see a face. We see a face, we see a body, and then we agree and we move on.
What do you see in the face of Cody Adair that's gonna let you achieve victory on the weekend?
I see another opponent who agreed to fight, and at the end of the day, it's just another body in the cage. And I'm grateful to get into the cage and show everything that I've been working on, and I'm very happy that they had a replacement right away. For me, it's never like anything personal. I'm not gonna sit here and say my opponent does this, this, and this, so I know I'm gonna do this. Um, but deep down, I have a very, very deep understanding of my game plan and what I'm going to execute and the principles that I operate on. And it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's Cody, whether it's Sung, whether Cody pulls out and it's another guy. I know the position that I need to be in to execute. And it's exactly what we're going to do.
If somebody is joining you and I at Mayhem this upcoming weekend and they see you fight for the first time, what are they going to think when they're watching you in the cage? What kind of fighter are you?
They're going to say that motherfucker's on. He's focused. I love, like, right now, amateur MMA in Ontario is flourishing. But what I do love about being on any show, not even amateur, just any show, I love being on this show, and at the end of the night, all I hear is, "Damn, that Christopher Balodis kid was different. He was different." They watch the whole card and they see me fight and they go, "The focus was different, the decision making was different, the understanding was different, and it looks like he understands why he's doing things." I don't get in a bar
Mm-hmm.
fight. I have a very, very high level understanding of the sport, and I love to express that. It's violent. It is violence. So
Mhm.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people just see a violent kid and they enjoy it. Maybe my interpretation of what they see is off. But what I know is that we're going to execute to a high level, and it's going to be violent, it's going to be tactical, and at the end of the day, it's going to be beautiful. It's mixed martial arts for a reason. So
Mhm.
I'm going to go perform, and it's my highest self. I can be honest. Like, this is the best version of me. This is the best I've ever been. So I'm excited to go put on a show for me, go make my coach proud, go make my family proud, and then the crowd and everybody else, they'll just see a man that put in work.
Mhm. Christopher, I've really enjoyed this conversation. You seem like a very interesting young man. Seen you around for a while. This is the first time we've really got a chance to chat, so thank you for this. And I always like finishing by saying, is there anything you think we should have talked about that I didn't ask?
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you to you, man. That's the last thing I got to say. You're a pioneer in Canadian MMA. You've been around since I think the first unsanctioned fight. So, just thank you for taking the time out of your day and continuing to be a staple in the community.
Well, that's unexpected, but I'll take it. Thank you, Christopher. Yeah, once again, I hope, it's funny, and being very honest now, I don't often root for one particular fighter over another. And in this case, in your fight, I'm really not either. I've established somewhat of a rapport with you. You're a super kid. But what at the end of the day, what I want is I want to see two fighters go into a cage fully prepared, fully ready, show their best selves, fight, and have the best fighter win. So, win or lose, I know you're going to bring it. And so I appreciate that about you. I just want to say best of luck. I hope you perform to the best of your abilities. I hope you're the best fighter you can be that night. And I guess we'll see what happens.
Understood.
All right, there you go, fight friends. Christopher Balodis fighting Cody Adair I'm not sure, are you the main event?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, main event of Mayhem 4 in Alliston, Ontario on the 29th of August for the Mayhem Lightweight Championship. Make sure you be there if you can.